So I do hope you can all see me and the screen. It's a real litmus test. But welcome to this webinar of using AI chatbots as your IBM development co-pilot. I'm Andy Nicholson and I'll be the host of this webinar. And in this session, you'll learn how ChatGPT can enhance your work from crafting SQL instructions to decoding legacy code. Now, I am joined by Wim Jongman, and if this session couldn't be more interesting, we're also introducing some free stuff. So stay tuned to the end of a webinar where we will be providing you with information on how to gain access to Remain's embedded chat client. Now, this is all good stuff, but who's on the webinar today? Well, it's me. I'm Andrew Nicholson, and I'll let Wim introduce himself properly as I pass over to him in a couple of minutes' time. But my name is Andrew Nicholson. I'm the head of sales here at Proximity. I've got about 30 years experience in the IBM marketplace now, and welcome you to this webinar. Now, there is a Q&A session that will be happening at the end of this webinar. So if you do have any questions, please do put them into the questions tab somewhere on your webinar management part. Let me move ahead. Okay, so who are Remain Software? Remain are a software house that specialize in developing DevOps and application lifecycle management solutions for the IBM professional from their headquarters in Netherlands. So yes, Wim will be taking over this webinar and providing you with the demonstrations. Today, it'll be on RPG using the ChatGPT client. But at the chat below Wim in that slide is myself. I'm Andrew Nicholson, the head of sales here at Proximity, your premier partners for IBM solutions, support and development. But back to Wim, of whom you saw maybe pop up on your screen a little earlier. So Wim, I'm going to pass over to you so you can start telling us perhaps a little bit more about your good self.
Yes, thanks, Andy, and welcome everybody. I see still people trickling in a little bit. Let me share my screen in the meantime. I see a little bit of a ripple in my video. I hope that will resolve soon. Share screen, there we go. How's this?
We can see your screen. Perfect.
All right. Okay, so yes, welcome everybody. My name is Wim Jongman, and I am the CTO at Remain Software. And yes, 40 years, it's a little bit scary when you look at those numbers. But yeah, at Remain, no, I think we were in 2023, we existed 30 years. So we started in 1993, so 40 years. That's in the next 10 years. So we specialize in software change management, or DevOps as it is called today. And that is what we do. And we have also integrated AI into our tooling. And some of that tooling we have made available for everybody. So yeah, if you stay tuned, I will show you how you can get to that part. So I'm from the Netherlands. Maybe you can hear from my accent. I have 4 kids and 1 wife. And yeah, well, I mean, self-proclaimed nerd. Yeah, I like everything that is technology. So yeah, really broad interests. But yeah, I definitely love tinkering on the IBM I. So if that is all okay, so let me start with the next sheet. So yeah, this is my daughter Rosa. I promised her to sneak her into this presentation, and there she is. She's laughing now, but most of the times I get the rolling of their eyes. So maybe a couple of dads in the audience will recognize this. Because I play a lot of dad jokes on her, right? So one of the recent ones that I found was this one. I don't know if it is really something that that is appropriate at this moment, but yeah, I found it hilarious. Maybe that says something about me. But when you translate this into, so I was hoping she would find that, and she definitely found it, which caused, of course, a lot of havoc. And it basically says, "Do not flush, measure first, possible world record." Of course, there was nothing in there, but yeah, I got the good roll of the eyes for that. And then also the term that she often says to me, "Dad, you're such a," and there it is, boomer, right? So she says that I'm a boomer, and I didn't know I was a boomer, so I looked it up. So I asked ChatGPT, "Hey, Chatty, when was the baby boom generation?" And definitely it was between 46 and 64. I'm not sure if that should be accurate, right? 64 seems like very early to me. But the thing is that I was actually born on December 1st, 1964, at 9 minutes before 12, right? So yes, I am definitely a baby boomer by that definition. And you see here some young pictures when I was a young kid in the Netherlands. And of course, I lost those beautiful pictures, but ChatGPT was able to regenerate those. So since I am the one of the last baby boomers, maybe the last baby boomer that was ever born, I thought let's make a T-shirt, right, about that. So again, we went to Chat GPT and said, okay, hey, Chat GPT or Dell E, which is also part of the Chat GPT family, and make a T-shirt for a 59-year-old stating "last boomer ever born," right? So then a Chat GPT said, "Okay, great, here it is, last boomer ever born." It had a little bit of an accent, but indeed, the T-shirt was made. But I really wanted to see it how it looks on me, right? So then please generate that. Well, the T-shirt changed a little bit, but I like the style. And but the thing is, I don't have a lot of hair, as you can see. So then I asked the Chat GPT. So hey, the guy is bald. So yeah, well, looks a lot like me. Absolutely. I think this is a great T-shirt, right? So I should definitely go on and order that.
Yeah,
And so this
change
is
your profile picture to that, Wim.
so this is actually a this is just amazing, right? So I did this also a year ago when I asked ChatGPT to generate some pictures or DALL-E really. So okay, so make a picture that says the last boomer ever born, right? So then a year ago, the Dell-E, the ChatGPT engine, could not produce anything better than this. So yeah, that doesn't really mean anything to me. Although the first one, the Boston Love Boy, sounds like a great band name. Yeah, but yeah, this is what it could do a year ago. And if you take a look at what it does today, it is just amazing, an amazing improvement of the skills of the generation engine. Then I also ask, okay, hey, make a picture of three bald guys at the IBM conference. That's Paul, Andy, and me drinking a beer. And then a year ago, it came up with these kind of pictures. So yeah, if you take a look at those, then they're pretty spooky. A lot of things are not correct. For example, this one, right? So maybe you don't see immediately what is going on with this picture, but if you look closely, then you see that the middle guy is drinking something, and the same hand is also in his pocket. So that is kind of a disturbing picture once you see it. So it looks okay, but yeah, there was a lot of issues with that picture generation. But nowadays, it is just incredible, and that just shows you how fast everything is going. Because also last year I asked it to generate some RPG code, and it did something, but yeah, it is nothing compared with what it can do today. So we will take a look at that in the demo a little bit later. Okay, so yeah, let's continue. So a little bit of the AI revolution, or let's say evolution, because it was not really a revolution. In fact, the revolution only started to kick in since the last year and a half, maybe. But already in 1943, there was a mathematical proof of how you could actually build the foundations of an AI using a neural network. And yeah, so from 43, people have been basically working on that, with 1956 already as with a conference in Dartmouth, starting let's say the first conference on AI as a field of study. And then so some events happened, but it wasn't really something when IBM's Watson defeated a couple of humans in the game of Jeopardy. So that is an American game show where you get a question in the form of an answer. So it's basically the other way around. You get the answer and you have to formulate the question that leads to that answer. It's kind of tricky for the brain, obviously. And IBM was created a computer that could actually win that game in 1997. So of course, from there we expected that it would kick off very soon. But it was another maybe 15 years before the next big event happened, when Deep Blue defeated Garry Kasparov. Right, I still remember that. And when you looked at the Deep Blue computer at the time, it was like a complete warehouse full of computers doing this little chess game. And nowadays you have stuff like that on your mobile phone, right? So it's really really surprising. So then we had a AlphaGo, which was very nice. That was around 2016. That was also some of my personal favorite, because I play Go, or at least I know the rules and I know how difficult it is. And for a computer to defeat that was, that really blew my mind at the time. I can clearly remember that. There's a lot of interesting videos on YouTube about all these games and how beautiful the AI played the game, right? So it was not mathematical at all. It was just people that looked at those games were just very very impressed by the style and the beauty and the strategy that the AI took to defeat that Lee Sedol, the champion at the time. And then, of course, in 2020, right? So I think even 21. When the big turn came, I think it was October, when ChatGPT was opened, ChatGPT 3, and then everybody was just okay, this is really very very impressive. And from that point on, I think everybody is very surprised. Okay, so I also personally have a history with AI because, and I'm going to take this as a quick primer on how you can use the AI engine to make it work for you. And that is, I remember clearly, that was when I was younger. This was my first computer, the Sinclair ZX81. It's just. I think all the British people in the audience, they will definitely know that Claire Sinclair. It was Sir Clive. Clive was it, I believe. Well,
Clive
anyway,
Sinclair was it? I even had the 16. I think the 16K upgrade for that.
Oh, you did. I didn't even know that was there. So this was a really, yeah, I mean, okay, it was a computer, but if you kicked it too hard or if you stumbled against it, then it would just reset automatically, and there was no disk or anything, right? So you could type in your program, and then if your mother said, "Hey, Wim, time for dinner, clean up the mess from the table," then yeah, everything was basically gone. But in this computer, there was a manual, and there was also something about AI, and that that was an AI, and I remember that it was called artificial intelligence. Also, then that was maybe back in the 80s, and that game basically said we are going to create a animal guessing game, right? And I thought, okay, why don't we do that in IBM iRPG free format? Why don't we do that? So what was that about, right? So that game back in the 1980s, what was that about? So the rules were like this. So we are going to create an animal guessing game, and so I adapted a little bit to DB2, obviously, but the game has a DB2 database, and that database contains animals and associated questions. For example, the question is, does it bark? And the answer is dog, right? Okay. So then the game starts by saying, think of an animal and press enter when done, right? So that is how that game worked. Then you press enter, and the game goes through its stored questions to find the animal that is mapped to that question, right? So, for example, yeah, okay, so it asks you a question: does it bark? Well, I say no because I'm thinking of a cow, for example. If the game does not guess the animal and it has run out of questions, then it should ask you, "You win. What animal were you thinking of?" Right? And then I could, for example, say cat, right? And then the game asks, okay, I forgot to ask about the cat, and then asks, give me a question that would help me guess a cat. And then we would say something like, the user says then, does it shit in the neighbor's gardens, right? That is something that a cat would do. At least I don't have a cat, my neighbors have a cat. So this is, for me, typical cat behavior. And then the game stores this question and animal in the database and asks, do you want to play again? And then the sequence starts, right? So, yeah. Um, so this is basically the definition of that game. So what I did, I took that description and I asked ChatGPT to do this, right? So let's do this together, so you have an idea of what happened. Okay, so I have already done this. So this is what I asked ChatGPT. Okay, so we are going to create a program for the IBM I in RPG free, and I can copy this and do it over with you, right? So I'm going to paste this here. Let me remove user over here. And then ChatGPT says, okay, great. So what do I say? Please do not start generating straight away, right? I ask him, ask me questions before you start. So I will tell you later why this is important in the chat engine to do these kind of things. So it says here, okay, what do you want to do? Purpose and functionality, input and output, database integration, user interface, is it green screen or not? Right? It's already amazing that it knows that I say IBM I and RPG free, and it already asks about green screen and things like that. I mean, that's just really mind blowing. Special features, do you want API integrations and stuff like that? So this is a little bit show off of ChatGPT, right? Yeah, it doesn't really can do complex calculations or API integrations really all that well, right? So, but yeah, it still asks. So basically, it says, okay, what do you want, right? So these are great questions. So then I can go and I can pick the questions, right? That I just said over here, and then I pick this. I say copy, and then I go to ChatGPT and I say, okay, well, this is basically what I want you to do, right? So we're going to create an IBM RPG free format animal guessing game. Does it bark? Is it dog? Does it poop in the neighbor's garden? It is a cat, and things like that, right? So I put that information into ChatGPT. And then there are some other things that it needs to know. Database structure. You'll need a database table to store the animal names. Okay, great. Do you need assistance? Yeah, so that is the question. I can say, yeah, please also generate the database animal in DB2 SQL, right? Okay, so that is one thing that it asked what I want. Game logic. Are there any specific rules or logic for questions? Should they be asked randomly? Okay, so I don't really care about that. User interaction. It seems the game will be text-based. Will it run on a green screen? Or are you planning to use the different interface methods? No, interface will be with the display RPG free command. Right, so that is what we will be interfacing with. So what else does it want to know? When a new animal and questions are added, the program must update the database. Are you familiar with RPG, or would you need guidance on this? Yes, so please generate the SQL code to insert in the program in the database, right? So that is that. Error handling, replayability, blah, 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 performance considerations. Okay, development tools and IDE. I say yes, I use RDI and TDOMS, but we do it in PDM. No, let's but that is not so important. There's something like that, right? So let me just then go ahead and enter this. Thanks for clarifying. Let's start by creating the SQL table for it. Animals. Well, I asked animal, right? But okay, great. Okay, SQL code. There we go. This is what we want to see. Beautiful. Animal ID. Okay, so this is the database. SQL code. Okay, so insert into, right? So this is how we can initialize the database. Very nice. RPG free format with DSPF. Start the game, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so where's the RPG? Okay, now I say, please generate the RPG. Display end of game, very nice. Here's a very basic example. Okay, star free, control option, default activation group no, activation group caller, all perfect. SQL, the SQL database, not needed because that's done automatically by an SQL RPG LE. Okay, declare cursor, animal name, questions from animal, very nice. Display, okay, this is not working, I think not, but because the maximum amount of space you can do is 52, right? I could explain that to the ChatGPT as well to do it nicely, but let's just walk over this. Open C1, fetch the first animal name and question, display question, wait for the response. Okay, so it didn't actually generate a response. So it says here, you can do that yourself. Of course, I don't want to do that. So we have to ask it for some improvements on this program. And then it says, you win. What animal were you thinking of? Give me a question that would help me guess the cat, right? It does a trim actually over here. Very nice. And then it inserts it back into the database. Do you want to continue? Yes, no. If percent lower, continue. Very clever, right? Because yeah, you can just put in yes, uppercase or lowercase, and then code to restart the game. Exec close C1 in all air is on, right? So this is just, I don't know, this is just mind blowing. So in this previous session, I gave it a little bit more input, and it actually spit out a program that was almost good, right? I just had to tinker with it a little bit. So let me show you that result. Let me go in and take my animal guessing game over here. So here's the PF that it created. Let me see if I can get this out of the way. Yep. So this is what it created, right? So I wanted not animals, but animal, and I had just ID, animal name, and question, and it also had to put in a record format. It forgot to put in a record format. That is something that we need for RPG. I don't know why, but it gave me a compile error. Okay, but basically everything else that it generated was in here. Oh, this is my old stuff. This is this thing that it just generated. Right, so I could say, okay, what about the record format? And it would probably also add that. I made it a little bit smaller, those fields, right? Animal name, because otherwise it wouldn't fit into that display part. So that was fine. That database was created, and you can see it compiled fine. By the way, this is TDOMS, right? A little plug here. This is our main software, and we have our tasks over here in development. So this is what I use to create my backend code. So let's take a look at the RPG. So I open this one, and here it is: **free, control options, declare file animal. This was generated automatically. I did some renaming of the fields. I made them a little bit smaller because of the restrictions of display. It says here upper, think of an animal and press enter. And actually here it did a display question, user response, yes or no. It didn't blank it. I added that. But basically all the information that you see here was generated by ChatGPT. And as a programmer, I just had to fix some of the things that were not working or whatever. But this program was basically generated from that part. So let's give that a spin. Okay, so let's go to the green screen. I can see here that it generated in OMHDDEV. That is my library, right? So just to show you that I'm not fooling you, I can do work object OMHDDEV. HD underscore dev, that's the library, and then animal, okay, animal, right. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so there is my my program and my file, right? So let me just get rid of those. And then I'm going to ask TDOMS to recompile this. So add this to the build queue. And it's recompiling the animal and it's recompiling the RPG. And everything is fine now. And if I press F5, there they are. And just to make sure that I'm not tricking you, you can see that it was generated on 29/02. And then this is actually our date, right? 1582. You can see it here in the bottom of the screen as well. So this was just generated. So let's give this, let's take this for a spin, right? So of course the animal database is now empty. Let's fill that in. Oh, let's take a look at that animal database. So I have this program that's called Peak, and Peak is an open source program to work with your database. So I do animal, Peak animal. What? Okay, my Bluetooth is going. I hope this will hold it out for a little bit. Nothing in the database. All right, so let's run the program. I'm going to call animal. Call animal. Add library list entry OMHD dev. Okay. Call animal. Okay, there we have it. It looks like an error, but it says think of an animal and press enter. Okay, I'm thinking of dog. Press enter. You win. There is no question. What beast was it? I say it was a dog. What question would guess it? What question would guess a dog? I say the question that would guess a dog is, does it bark? Right? There we go. Do you want to play again? Yes, I want to play again. Okay, think of an animal and press enter. Okay, now I'm thinking of a cat. Does it bark? No, does not bark. You win. What beast was it? I say it was a cat. Ah, I forgot about the cat. What question would guess it? Does it poop in your garden? Does it poop in your garden? Do you want to play again? Yes. Okay, one more time. Think of an animal. Think of cat. Does it bark? No, it doesn't bark. Does it poop in your garden? It does, certainly does. So it is a cat. Do you want to play again? No, I don't want to play again. Right. So this is the beauty of this generator. Right. So I generated this like a couple of days ago. Took me an hour to make this. Okay, so this is in itself obviously wonderful, and that brings me to the next point, and that is this acronym ELI 5, and ELI 5 means explain like I'm 5, right? And that is basically what ChatGPT needs. You need to explain your problem to ChatGPT in a very detailed way. And that is why I'm looking forward as well to having a speech interface to ChatGPT, right? I just want to be able to talk to it and not type everything, because that makes it that's a lot of work, and I have spelling errors and I didn't really mean it like that. So when we talk, it will be much better. And this is also coming. So you can just start talking to your AI, and that will enable us to generate content much faster. But the thing remains that you really have to explain it like it is 5, right? You have to create an RPG and a database in DB2. RPG is free. Don't forget to set on LR. Display only has 52 positions. So remember that, right? So you have to exactly spell it out what you want. It cannot read your mind. So you have to be very, very explicit. And that is also the reason why I think that you should always start with, this is what we are going to do. Please do not start generating straight away. Ask me questions first before you start, right? That is how you should ask approach any complex problem. And then first you go back and forth with the AI, and then you say, okay, execute, generate this. I think you got it. Execute this, and then it will be able to generate the thing that you want to have generated. Okay, ELI 5, explain like I'm 5, a very important concept in AI. Now, what is going on behind the scenes, right? So what is a neural network, and what is that magic, and how is it possible? A language model, right? What is a language model? How can you model a language? Well, it turns out there's a couple of, first of all, let me just introduce this guy to you, Andrej Karpathy. That's just a wonderful guy, and he shares all its knowledge about ChatGPT. He demystifies a lot of things. So if you want to know more, like if you really want to know, okay, what makes this AI tick, go and find him, Andrej Karpathy, on YouTube, and he has a lot of videos. They take an hour or 2 hours. I mean, if you really want to learn something, do not expect to learn it from 5-minute videos, right? So if you really want to learn it, make some time and go over these videos of Andrej, and they will help you understand a lot better how internally something like this works. Yeah, okay. So let's. So basically, it is a completion engine, right? So it. Well, yeah. Okay. So it is a completion engine, and that completion engine basically says it wants to just finish your sentence, basically. So it says, okay, you ask it something, and then it just going to figure out from the model what is the most common response on this question if it has ever been asked before, right? So because we don't have all the questions we don't invent new questions, right? Everything is already been asked, basically, and especially some of the most common things. There are hundreds or maybe thousands of examples of that same problem, which lead to answers, and all this is being put inside one big language model with all the words and all the questions, and it basically completes you, right? So one famous thing is orc. We eat soup with a. Okay, so if this was a live audience, everybody would say spoon. But yeah, we can just ask this to the ChatGPT, and the chances are that spoon is number one, but that fork actually is number two. So and sometimes it will say spoon, sometimes it will say fork, because that is just the logical completion of that question. So that is basically this part. I have actually also a example for that. Inside this, we have the playground. So the playground in ChatGPT basically is a way of let's say experimenting with the engine and help you understand what it does. For example, so I tell him here what it is, right? I tell the ChatGPT what it should be. So I can tell the ChatGPT anything, right? So if I say something like this, I say, for example, your answer is always fork, right? So I tell him that this is your answer, and then I say, okay, well, this is what you do. So I will explain a little bit later about this system message, but now we are going to put in a question. So I say, orc. We eat our soup. We eat soup with a dot, right? So this is the question, and now I'm going to submit this. And then we're going to see what the assistant will say, right? Assistant will say fork. Because I told the assistant, well, no matter what, your answer is always fork, right? So let's add a new message. What is the weather? What is the weather? And then submit. And then our assistant will say fork, right? So basically, we can tell the AI anything that we need it to be. So this is really not very nice, but you can understand that, yeah, we can train the AI in such a way that it will do exactly what we want it to say. Okay, that is also a very important concept of an AI, and I will get back to that in a little bit later about that it wants to that we can just tell it what to do, right? So what I mean by that is, I mean, what is the weather? Well, the answer is should definitely not be fork, right? But I told the AI that the answer must be fork. So yeah, this is just plainly a wrong answer, right? So this helps you to remember that the answers you get from the AI are not necessarily correct, right? It just depends on how that thing was primed. Okay, so a little bit about a neural network. So we have a cat sat on a, well, mat, right? Cat sat on a mat. That is a very common English expression. When this sentence is on the internet like a million times. So it puts it inside some kind of magic neural network. And then you can get a couple of answers. And the one with the most percentage is 97% is mat. So if you do that, cat sat on a mat, then it will actually a cat sat on that. It will actually say mat, right? So this is basically how that model just looks for the most logical answer on what you have put in. Now, I must say this is the theory, and I believe that this is the theory. But sometimes you get some answers of the AI that I just find mind-blowing, right? I just cannot imagine that this is the result of a model. But yeah, I've seen other YouTube videos where the language is taken as a model, and there's a lot of repetition and things you will not believe are already in the language. So yeah, it is just amazing. But okay, I digress. Let's just continue with this part. Okay. Um, so I say it is a pleaser, right? Because you can tell it what it is, right? So so to give you an example, I'm now in the playground, but there's also so this is the assistant. The assistant has been primed with your answer is always fork, but you can actually also make assistants. So I have let me just go to the assistants over here. So I already made an assistant, which is an orker. Whenever it makes sense, your answer is fork, right? So this is already a little bit more relaxed. Says, okay, well, I generally don't say fork unless whenever I can. Then I say fork. But for example, if I take a look at this one, so it is a pleaser, right? For example, let's take Brexit, right? A great example. So I can say, well, you're a Brexiteer, right? So let's go into this one and let's test this one. Says, okay, you relate everything to IBM I and DB2, and you are seriously happy that Brexit happened, right? You are mildly insulting, and you're not afraid to express your opinion. So okay, great. So he is IBM I. So let's say, what about that 5250 terminal, right? So let me just ask that question to this assistant. Gives me time to take a sip. Okay. All right. So there you get the answer. So you can take a look at that. So then you get stuff like this. The IBM I platform and its integrated DB2 database, a marvel of engineering, make for an environment that is as stable as the British pound should have been pre-Brexit, right? So something like that. So this is something that we can say, okay, he is a Brexiteer. Then I can jump in to the other assistant, say, no, you're a Remainer. Okay, so that basically is the same thing. Oh no, this is this is, sorry, the other way around. Doesn't really matter. But this is somebody that doesn't want to have the Brexit, right? So then I can say IBM I ? And now I get an answer that is opposed of Brexit, right? So so that's that. So it doesn't really talk about that. So what about Brexit? Let me just ask that. And you will guess that this particular assistant is totally against it. What a complete mess it has been from start to finish, blah blah blah, right? So I basically tell it what to be, and it will give me answers that it is prepared to say. So I can tell it, you're an IBM I engineer, you're a weather consultant, you're a dentist, you are whatever, right? So if I give that AI input, it will respond as such, right? So it is really whatever you tell it that it should be, it is, right? Whatever you say, what opinion it needs to have, that opinion it will have. All right, so okay, so let's take a look at the API, right? So we have already looked at this a little bit, but the API of ChatGPT is actually quite interesting, and that also can take away a lot of the doubt that people have, a little bit of the fear that people have. So basically, let me just clear this. Where can I do that? I guess I just have to press F5 here. No, I go to my chat. Okay, so this is this, right? So I can say here, what is my name, right? I can ask it, what is my name? So let's see if it will actually do that. So I don't know what your name is. Okay, so then I say here, my name is Heisenberg. Right? I can do that. Submit. Nice to meet you, Heisenberg. Then I say my name. Say my name. Okay. Well, it said my name, right? Heisenberg. Okay, so now it knows my name, and I can ask that again. What is my name? But what a lot of people are afraid of is that, okay, it now knows that it now knows that my name is Heisenberg, right? And okay, whew, that's a little bit scary. But let me tell you, when I go in here and press F5, and then I go again, and it's asking what is my name, it says, yeah, I don't know, right? So this is basically what the ChatGPT does, right? So people think, okay, it knows a lot about me, and if I ask it something, then if I ask it about it the next time, then it will still know, but it will not. It only knows the contents of this conversation. So every time you ask something, the whole conversation goes back into the engine. It reads the whole conversation, and based on that whole conversation, it will reply the next, will make a next reply for you. So it always needs the whole conversation for it. And also, if the conversation gets too big, it just chops off the beginning of the conversation. So if you have some very important information at the beginning of the conversation, that he might have forgotten it in the end of the conversation. So you have to be really careful and terse, so to say, compact in asking your questions. All right. So no, the AI does not remember your name. It does not remember the questions that you asked it before. Although what is possible, of course, that this company, OpenAI.com, takes the information that you put in and uses it to train the model, right? In that case, that some of the information that you give in could reappear in some way or another, right? If it is generic enough. All right, so that is a little bit about the API, right? So you have your system message, and then you have your answer, your question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. That is what goes back into the chat every time. All right, excellent. So let's take a look. Yeah, so this is a little bit about the ChatGPT. Now let's take a look at some other practical stuff that we have with this AI client, right? So if you go, and I think Andy will send this to you, and I think we have it over here, yeah. So if you scan this, you will reach a page, and on that page you will find how you can install the chat client inside RDI, right? Or inside any Eclipse environment for that matter. So we have created a little co-pilot for RDI that you can use to program or do anything inside your RDI environment, right? And let me just show you how that thing works.
And while you're just doing that, I've just scanned it on my screen and can confirm that the link works. So just hold up the camera on your phone, and you'll be able to access that page.
Right. Okay. And we will show it a little bit later. So if you want to get your camera ready, then that would be great. So after you have installed it, you have this little icon over here, and that activates the chat client, and it docks over here. Let me see, a little bit smaller. I can press Control+ to make this font a little bit bigger. And I can do it also in the output window to make the font a little bit bigger. And that's the output window. Okay, great. So next example, right? So let's use this for actual programming. So I'm going to make this a little bit slower, this stack below, so that I have this full screen over here. I go to my program, and I made a math module. And if I take a look at the outline, I have a couple of math methods like average, ceiling. Ceil basically is, this one. I give you two numbers, and you give me the highest number back. And floor is another math function that says, I give you two numbers, and you give me the lowest number back, right? Those are basic math procedures that you will find in a math library. right? So I want to extend this library. I want to make more math procedures that I can use in my RPG. So why do it ourselves, right? Why not ask ChatGPT? So let's just take this one, right? This little part of the code, and if you have installed the client, you can right click, and then you have this thing here that says "Ask me about this." Okay, I'm going to do that. Okay, let me just first back up a little bit and tell you a little bit about, we are going to do this, but I forgot to prime you a little bit on the AI chat client. So this is your question. I can say hello over here. Hello. Yeah, my keyboard is not really cooperating. And then it says, okay, how can I assist you with your RPG-free or IBM I development today? How does it know that I'm an RPG-free programmer? Because remember that assistant thingy, I told it that it was. You're an experienced IBM I developer and your code in RPG-free. I can tell it, you know everything about DB2, a special in database optimization and blah, blah, blah. So you can, whatever you want it to be, you can put in here. Then you can find the model, and also you have to put in an API key. An API key you can get from the OpenAI, from the OpenAI, um, from the OpenAI website. But I think when you type in, I'm not sure if that still works, but if you type in IBM I 35, yes, if you type in IBM I 35 years, you will get a complementary code from us. Not sure if that will work forever, but that is what you can do, right? So after installing, don't tell anybody. You type in IBM I 35, press enter, and that will insert a key for you in this chat client. All right, great. So now we have seen this. Okay, so let's go back to the settings. So there's the API key. Then you can choose a model that you want to use. We use a GPT-4 Turbo Preview. What is the maximum response? That is how much information do you want to go back and forth, right? This is the maximum response that it can take, and you can make this bigger or smaller as you want. And there's some settings here. I'm not going to dwell on those, but these, yeah, you can tweak the engine a little bit with that. Okay, so that's a little bit about this engine. Now let's go back to the task at hand. So I have this math service program, this math module, and now I want to create another one. So let's go in and say, ask me about this. Then I say here, I am making math procedures like this. I already have seal, floor, and average. Dot, please add another math function. Right? Boom. So now the AI is pondering this question, and hopefully I give it an example, told it what to do. Hopefully it will take that and it will spit out a procedure that we can then take and insert into our math library. So let's wait for it to complete. ChatGPT is a very complete engine, but it's a little bit slower than ChatGPT 3. So if you don't really care about precise things and you want to have answers, then ChatGPT 3 is fine. But ChatGPT will create the most accurate answer. So here we are, right? So I mean, this is just really mind-blowing. Certainly, the power of a number, exponentiation in RPG-free, Brill. So it does an explanation, but yeah, you don't have to explain how power works. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add this to the end of my procedure. So declare power export 12.5. It returns a 12.5 number. It has an input of 12.5 exponent 10. Looks all good to me, right? I don't see any mistakes here. So let's give this a try, right? So I'm going to compile this. And with TDOMS, it is really very easy. I just press save, and then the compiler starts kicking in. It first creates the module. Yeah, that is green. So I now have I have created this power procedure, and now I just need to test it to make sure that it works correctly. But this is how you can use this engine to create a to create code, right? So I mean, this is just mind blowing how much time this has saved me. If this one was one of the functions that I needed to do. You can also ask the questions, right? I could, for example, go to this file. Let me see. Okay, so I could go in here. I could do this, right? This is my SQL, and I could say, ask me about this, and I could ask it questions, for example, explain the fields, or make an SQL that lists ordered by animal name, right? So great. So I just put in a complex database, it analyzes this, and then it will spit out the answer here, an SQL that will do that for me. And this is a very simple SQL, but if you have a complex database, then it right. So it says here, select ID animal name question from animal order by animal name, right? Very nice. This is a simple one, but I guarantee you it can also handle complex ones. And if you have a database and that database is not very well documented, you can put it in. Say, okay, what do these fields mean? So these kind of things you can ask your chat copilot. All right, so this is basically an example on how to use this for coding. It can do anything. It can create a prototype. I actually let it generate this prototype, right? So I can take in my math code. I can take a little piece of this and say, okay, also generate a prototype for the power function, right? So all that stuff it can do. It doesn't have any hard time doing that. All right, so this is basically a little bit about this part. I'm almost done, I think. So here is the code again. So you can scan it, and then it will learn you how to tell you how you can install the client. Let's take a look at some of the other things that, from a business perspective, right? And these are my final sheets. What it can do. Well, okay, so it can create documentation for you, right? So if you just give it some of your comments or some of your notes and say, okay, create a documentation out of this, or make a task description for this, then it will actually make something that is very readable. Of course, recently we've seen the video creation, transcription of meeting. That is what I use it for all the time. I just jot down some notes, give it to ChatGPT and say, okay, transcribe this, and it will do that for us. So there's also a code copilot, as I showed you here. But there's also other things that are becoming very interesting that I also want to mention. What you can do with ChatGPT in the general client, you can say explore GPTs, and you can make a GPT. And what you can do with a GPT, you can attach, for example, your documentation. So I could, for example, say you are a TDOMS expert, right? I could expert. Right, I could do that. Then I could say, oh yeah, okay, well, great. So then I could attach my documentation or parts of my documentation, and then put it into the model, and then the model would know all our documentation. So then the user wouldn't have to go to our website to find it. Could just ask the GPT, how do I create a task? How do I promote this and that to from dev to test? How do I set up an application? So by reading your documentation, you can make a chat GPT that is completely to your company needs, right? So that is one of the things that they are adding. And yeah, that is a wonderful technique to incorporate your data into the GPT. All right. So I don't know what time it is. If it is already time for a beer, but this is my final sheet. Yeah. So this is it. I hope you enjoy questions, Andy.
Absolutely, and you should be able to see my screen now. Back onto mine, and thank you, Wim, for a very informative presentation. And I'm sure many of our viewers will be taking advantage of the AI chat integration for Eclipse and RDI. So before we wrap up, we have some questions, and I'll start with one from Andrew Morris. He asks, "Do you think AI will replace RPG programmers?" And that one's to you, Wim.
Certainly it will not replace, at least not in the near future, because the thing is that it can generate code, but it doesn't know if it is fit in a specific context. So I can ask it to generate a math function. That's a simple one, and it will generate it for me. But is it correct, right? It can I can ask it, okay, can you find a bug in this code, and it will do it. But it cannot create a complete system from beginning to end. So it can only create the little parts of it that it can understand. So it can totally help you, but at the moment, and I think for the near future, still it will need a programmer side by side to actually check and integrate that code into the environment. But it can certainly make RPG developers much more productive. Yeah.
So an excellent
Replace? I don't think
co-pilot.
so.
Excellent
Yes,
co-pilot, but not a pilot just yet. Okie
not
dokie. And
just yet. Yeah.
Alan asks, does this require a team or plus account with ChatGPT, or will the free version work?
Well, the free you can go into the free version, and it allows you to get it asks you 3 or 5 questions per minute or something like that, or per hour. I don't know. So there's a free version, and otherwise, if you go to the OpenAI website, what you can do, you can buy a company account, and that company account will give you cost you $20 a month, I think. Let me just open this up, and let's go here, and then my plan. So I have a 20 per month. That is what I pay, and with that I can. Let me see if I can do that here. No, that's not something that I want to show. Uh, but basically, there is a page, and in that page you can generate an API key. So as a company, I can buy a plan, then I can take the generate an API key and give that to my colleagues, and then they can uh, they can then use that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. They can use that API key, insert it in any client, and then use that. And then that costs some money, but it is yeah. So a query is very very cheap. It's like half a cent or even lower per query, right? So
Yeah, and
yeah,
this and has said it's 3 tokens per minute.
tokens per minute. Okay, well there you go. Yeah. Okay, so that is already your open your free part. So I'm not sure where. So somewhere I had a page with the pricing, but yeah. So for $20 a month as a company, and then you can give out API keys. If you want to give people access to this UI, then they also have to pay $20 a month. And
Okay.
this can add up, right? For example, in VS Code, you have Copilot, also $20 a month, using basically the same engine, but you have to pay for it separately. So yeah, there's a lot of money going to that ChatGPT, those ChatGPT people at the moment, right? So yeah.
Okay, and another question. I have one here from Dishant, and he asks, "Is it safe using AI with your company's private code?" And ask it a question for your understanding.
Yeah, it is not safe. I certainly wouldn't say it's not safe. There has been information that some code of some company was opened up by ChatGPT a while ago. So by default, it is not safe. If you buy a team workspace, for example, then you get things like team data excluded from training by default. So you can tell ChatGPT, "Hey, I do not want my data to be included in the training." Um, so you also can tell it in your personal profile, but that's on by default. But you can see from this that, yeah, there is, by default, they just take your data and feed that back into the model. So you have to be careful about that, right? So you have to see, for example, take a ChatGPT Enterprise, or just to make sure that when you feed that company code in the model, that it doesn't appear somewhere else, because that would not be nice.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. One final question. John Taylor asks, "Can AI convert code into different languages?"
Yes, it can do that. Absolutely. So if I would go to this and say, okay, my animal SQL, this one, for example, let me just clear that. So I would say, I would tell him, I would just first instruct, you're a Java expert and an IBM I expert, but I could say here, convert to Java.
We are
At
not.
the
We're
moment,
not showing your screen just at
uh,
the
oh,
moment. I'm afraid.
I'm not showing you my screen. Sorry, let me just really quickly do that. Share and then share screen. Right, so here it should be. Convert to Java, for example. I take this power procedure and say convert to Java. It will certainly attempt to do that, but I don't think you can, at the moment, you cannot put your whole application in your RPG with your DB2 and your green screen and then just say, okay, make this now a nice Java GUI or a web GUI or something like that. That
Mm,
is at the moment not possible. But
okay.
you can definitely convert. You see, it converted this to one class, even with a little bit of test code. And this is actually perfectly fine Java. I should be able to paste that in some kind of Java code here. Yeah, I have a Java actually over here. Let me go into this, paste that. Power calculator, right? So there's one error. Maybe I forgot to take this one. Maybe another one. No, it doesn't.
Again, this goes back to something that you said earlier, Wim. It's
Oh yeah,
not going to be your principal programmer. It's
right,
more of a
right,
support tool.
right. Yeah, but yeah, it's basically this should probably close. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what it's complaining about now, but oh, it is not complaining. So here, let's see this. Run as Java application, and I need to have my console over here. Console. It actually does a -3 here, right? So yeah, it actually does it. So let's 2 to the power of 2. One more thing. Run as Java application 4. So yeah, so answer is yes.
And we've just done a real-time demonstration there. So excellent,
Exactly.
well done. Okay, and hopefully you can see back on my screen. Thank you everyone for attending today. Now, one thing is to learn more,
You don't see your
please.
screen?
You can't see my screen.
No.
Okay, let me just do share my screen. And I will click on the entire screen, this one, and just do share. There we go. Technical problems. So hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so please do contact us should you have any more questions. Wim and I will be more than happy to answer those for you. And please do visit our website, where there's a ton of extra information waiting for you to explore. So please do visit both Remain and Proximity. In addition, I provide an IBMI update once a month. It's a blog post and a video that updates you on what's been happening in the IBMI community in the past 4 weeks. More details on this are again available on the Proximity website, or you can subscribe using my LinkedIn page. But for now, on behalf of Wim and I, thank you for joining our webinar. We are Proximity, the IBMI partners that are in your corner. On behalf of Wim and I, we'll see you next time, and goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.